As we've shown you, Omaha 360 is working to make a difference. KETV News Watch 7's Cal Larson shows us how the empowerment networks extend beyond the weekly meetings.
A Monday evening symphony of traffic and honks. All for a purpose. Jennifer Clark with Omaha Youth 360 stands on a street corner in Omaha to promote peace.
It really just helps us be mighty and forceful by, the more that we can all come together, the more that we can hopefully have a positive impact.
The event comes at a critical time, just before summer.
We all know that they say idle hands, idle mind is a devil's playground, so we usually see a lot of peak in different areas in violence or whatnot because school isn't in session any longer, so there's a lot of free time on our youth's hands.
Tamaya Wright has been a member of Youth 360 for about 4 months. She joined Clark and others on the sidewalk Monday because she believed in the message being spread.
If you live here, you don't see a lot of peace, so I feel like since we're doing this right now, then we'll see a lot more of that.
Wright uses the meetings with Youth 360 and events like Honk for Peace to create a foundation for her future.
And maybe I can help out along the community too from the opportunities I can get there.
Clark goes back to making sure the organization is seen and Omaha's youth knows its options this summer.
We're going to do our best that we can increase the peace and keep them busy in positive ways throughout the summer.
Cal Larson reporting there. Now, fighting crime and shaping futures. We've shown you how cities nationwide are looking to Omaha to end the cycle of violence in their own towns. But let's talk about how that mission looks right here at home. I'm joined by Ricky Smith and Jonathan Chapman from the Empowerment Network. Welcome to Chronicle. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Whoever would like to answer this one, what is the Empowerment Network and 360's mission?
360 director.
All righty. Peace throughout the entire city, really. Being able to engage our community, our police departments, our first responders on every single level, and then just being a liaison between each of those entities in order to be able to provide a safe community for everyone.
So for someone who hasn't been to a 360 meeting, can you describe or walk us through what the meetings are like every week?
Very empowering, very engaging. It's a place where everybody's voice is welcome. And it's been very, very consistent over the past 15 to 17 years. And so everybody knows that this is where you can come, you can get information, we can collaborate, we can work together. And we start off every meeting with that. Collaboration, a prayer, of course, and then ways we can continue to work together throughout the entire city.
A lot of cities who have come here are surprised with the transparency of the police department with you. How have you worked to build that relationship over the years?
I think it's exactly what you said, it's relationship. And relationships take time to build. And that's one of the things that we try to communicate to other cities is that the fruit that we see in the relationships now between community and police is the result of hard work over the last 17 years. But over that time, there's been a degree of trust that's been built where the community knows that they can share information, share their concerns, lift up their requests to the police department, and that it's actually going to be heard. And over the years, we've been able to see the tangible effects and outcomes, the results of issues, recommendations that have been brought forward through Omaha 360 that have materialized in the police department and in policy changes. And that makes a difference when people know that their voices are heard, when they know that they're listened to, they feel valued, they feel concerned, and when they feel like they are trusted, it's much easier for them to be trusting as well.
That sort of both-way relationship has resulted in a pretty dramatic decrease in crime. Can you guys touch on where you started and the crime spike that you were seeing and where we are now?
Yeah, so back in 2012, which is when we started really keeping track of the data on particularly gun assaults in the community. During that year, there were 247 gun assaults that took place in the community. Thankfully, last year in 2022, there were only 102. And that, of course, is it's a consistent trend. Even during COVID, there was a spike during COVID when everything was kind of shut down and people had other things that were going on. And communities all across the nation saw that spike in their gun assaults and their violent crime during that time. But that really helped to distinguish Omaha because as quickly as things went up here, they started trending back down, where other cities across the nation, things continue to trend up. And again, it's the result of the collaboration between the community and law enforcement that has allowed us to work together to help keep that low.
When you guys talk about the resources, bringing resources together, what does that look like? How do you find who's going to be at the table? And then how do you help a family when they're impacted by that violence?
I think everybody is welcome. Everybody has a seat at the table. It's just a matter of knowing what our strategies are and being able to implement them on every different level and in every capacity. And so we're trying to make sure that we work holistically with the families and provide those wraparound services. And it's just not to the student or to that young person. We got to identify how we can also support our police department. And so being able to have those open lines of communication, be very transparent. Our chief often says you can't arrest your way out of some of these things. And so how can they be more visible? How can they be more welcoming and more just approachable to the community? And so that makes a really, really big difference on how we provide that service and that capacity in which we're able to deliver.
Yeah, and I think Ricky said it perfectly. 360 and really all of the opportunities at the Empowerment Network, they're an open table for anyone who understands the mission and has a desire to contribute. And specifically, Omaha 360 is about reducing gun violence. It's about building the relationship between the police and the community. And it's about implementing reforms collectively and collaboratively. So anybody that desires to do that has a seat at the table at Omaha 360. And so, that goes for anyone in our community that wants to continue to see a reduction in gun violence. They can participate in what Omaha 360 has to offer.
You mentioned students, and we've seen a trend recently where when it started in 2012, it was adults, it was older gentlemen who were involved in these gun crimes, but now we're seeing this dramatic shift to a younger population. So much so that you guys have started a youth version of 360. Walk me through that.
Well, in order to combat some of the things that go on in gangs, gang members are often the best recruiters and leaders. So we felt like if we provided an accelerated leadership program, we could get our kids better built and put them in a way of leadership in their schools to try to target some of the things that are going on to help reduce those things. Our young people are really, really heavily involved in social media, and we know that's one of the things that it's just basically the platform for our young people to reach out to each other to provide services and or to get into trouble and mischief. And so if we can kind of target some of those things that our youth can kind of be the leaders on, we feel like we can make a difference on a lot of different levels, starting with our young people.
There is a ton of prevention and intervention efforts that are a part of 360. Can you highlight for me some of the organizations or some of the ways that you guys get ahead of this violence?
That open communication is really, really important. And so being able to call a Marcus or even a Keith Williamson, Chief Schmatter directly, and then also all the community-based organizations who are at our table who provide internship opportunities, for example, for some of our young people, Boys and Girls Club. You have North Omaha community organizations who are new to the table but don't want to start from the very, very beginning. And so they said, we have to be a part of what's going on here at 360. And so again, an open table where everybody is welcome, and it makes a very, very big difference when you have credible messengers, organizations like U-Turn and those kind of things where we can reach out to people who are directly related or deeply involved and ready to serve those gang members or those people who have been through it and are trying to make a difference in their lives.
Yeah, there are over 500 different organizations that are connected to, engaged in and supportive of the Omaha 360 efforts in some way, shape, or form. And for an Omaha community that is really connected, we have representation everywhere from the Fortune 500 companies all the way down to the former gang members that are now doing gang intervention. And that, I think that beautiful cross section of our community and the representation there, when we walk in that room on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock, everybody is just a concerned citizen that wants our community to be better, no matter where they come from, but they bring whatever resources, connections, information, understanding, education, all together to this table to try to make Omaha a better place for everybody to live in every zip code. That's always been the goal, and it continues to be the goal today.
You guys have touched a little bit on it, but the My Brother's Keeper city designation and other cities that are reaching out, how do you guys address or I guess reconcile that with a spike in violence like we've just seen? Is that discouraging, or is it more fuel to the fire to keep doing what you're doing?
It's absolutely fuel to the fire, but I think it's also great for the other cities to see that we're not perfect, that we still have work to do. We made a lot of progress, but we still have improvements to make. We're really blessed in our city to still be at single-digit homicides for the year, but one homicide is too many because that's a family that now has to reconcile life without their loved one. And so it is, we never want to go through those experiences, but it ends up being fruitful even for those other cities because we have to mobilize differently when things begin to happen. And it allows people to see the power of communication, like Ricky has said, and the collaboration that takes place. Because, what we hear from a lot of other cities is, we do that, but we do it in silos, and and they're trying to understand really what the secret sauce is here in Omaha. And it's really just the fact that we work together.
It's definitely a motivating factor, I will say, because it lets us know, yes, we're going to have spikes, but being able to be consistent and work through those, we continue to still see our numbers go down. And that's one of the things, again, our chief leads and says, we just got to work through it, guys. Don't get discouraged. Just stay confident and let's stay consistent in what we're doing. And our strategies, they come together and they work out.
Perfect. Ricky, Jonathan, thank you both so much for joining us this morning on Chronicle. To learn more about Omaha 360 and their partners and their strategies to make the city a better and safer place to live, visit empoweromaha.com. We also have a link to it in this episode of Chronicle on KETV.com. Now remember, if you missed any part of this show or you want to watch it again, it's available on the Very Local app. All KETV News Watch 7 reports are there on demand, and it's free. You can download the app for Roku, Amazon Fire, or anywhere you find new apps. I'm Sarah Feely. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here next Sunday morning for KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle.